Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Journey We Take podcast. I'm your host, Janelle Wells, and I wanted to start today off a little differently. So let me set the scene. It's a nice, crispy autumn day out here in Northern California. It's a little cloudy out, about 60-ish degrees or so. It's what I like to call sweater weather. Say that 10 times fast. I dare ya. The leaves are changing colors. It's super vibrant out. The trees are just popping off. And no, actually, quite literally, like the leaves are popping off of the trees. That was really silly, but the hot coffee that I love already so much just warms the soul even more at this time of the year. It's just amazing. I love it. I love it. But yes, obviously, I'm inside right now recording this in what my husband and I like to call our studio room. But don't worry, I'm keeping the same energy in here. The fall vibes are consistent. I have a maple syrup candle burning, so it actually kind of smells like breakfast, but I don't mind. I do think my husband thinks it's a little deceptive though, because I had it burning the other night and he came out of the room thinking I was like making pancakes or waffles or something like that, but I wasn't cooking anything at all. So the joke was on him, and I kind of felt bad because he was sad and cried a little bit. No, I'm just kidding, but it was sad because there was no food made, and the candle obviously was not edible. So but anyway, obviously here in this room is where all the recording equipment is. We have our computer things, some instruments, acoustics, a little keyboard, whatever, and an oversized beanbag chair that I absolutely love. It's one that I think I'd prefer over my bed. I think I'd actually prefer sleeping on it over my bed if my husband and I can both fit on it. But I don't know with the way I sleep. I like to flop around, but anyway, I'm inside comfortable and cozy right now, which is kind of ironic, I feel like, when it comes to what I had in mind to talk about today. And that's actually going to be all about comfort zones. So we'll go ahead and get into it. This is a poem I wrote at a time when I was in the middle of deciding to leave my comfort zone and embrace change. It's called Sink or Swim. Losing sight of the shore. I can't take this shallowness anymore. I'm diving into the deep end without a second thought. Whether I sink or swim, this is where life begins. So I feel like life often leads us through the predictable shallows where we get comfortable, but at times it's just not enough. You know that feeling, right? It's like standing on the shore, looking at the vast expanse of water, and then realizing you want to explore deeper. Honestly, the water has always been a bit terrifying to me, the unrevealed and mysterious ways of the ocean specifically. I don't know, there's just something about it all that leaves me intimidated and curious, all while simultaneously in amazement. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. But that's exactly why I thought it would be a perfect reference for capturing the sentiment of leaving behind the safety and predictability of the known, being brave and taking a leap of faith despite fear. I think we all reach a point when we crave something more sincere to our soul, to fulfill something greater than ourselves and possibly beyond the status quo. And that is something I touched on a previous episode, but whatever it ends up being that fills our cup, we end up searching for it and to attain contentment from it. And there may be times when our cup starts to run dry, and I feel like that's what pushes us to venture beyond those comfort zones that we so easily establish and get cemented in. I was 18, kind of straight out of high school at the time. I ended up getting my diploma the atypical way from some adult ed center in South Carolina. Not that that's bad, but I had always pictured myself walking with my class, and heck, even at one point thought I could be valedictorian. And well, maybe I could have, but I unfortunately put my education to the side, and I was trying to find ways to escape this chaos of a world that I felt like was deteriorating right before me. And I found, unhealthy ways to cope, and I let my rebellious ways hold me back and didn't apply myself when I should have, despite whatever I was going through at the time. But that's an outdated version of me that has since perished, and it took some time, but I have forgiven that young, broken girl I once was, and I truly do wish I could hug her sometimes and tell her everything would be okay. and definitely talk some sense into her. But that's why it's so important to forgive yourself so then you can actually leave the past behind and move forward. And that's just a whole nother story I may get into some other time. But the point I'm trying to make here is I was young, wide-eyed, stepping fresh into the adult world and extremely lost as I tried to recover pieces of myself that had fallen between the cracks. I attempted different jobs, basically settled for whatever, just getting by for a short amount of time. And I had developed low expectations for myself, especially staying in a town that I felt like had been draining the life out of my veins for a while. I was finally learning to be okay with acknowledging life doesn't always go as planned, but the terrible part of that is that I grew complacent and basically stuck on idle. And I guess I was comfortable, for a certain amount of time, but not for long because I realized I was selling myself short. And honestly, how could you be okay with that? Inside, I knew a courageous woman who existed and who knew she was capable of exceeding those faulty limitations that my juvenile self had set, and she was on the brink of existence. On my 19th birthday, I was done suppressing unfulfilled potential. I left everything I knew behind, walked away from that comfort zone that was doing me a disservice, hopped on a plane that flew me over 2,000 miles away across the country to a place I had never been. And I took that leap of faith and jumped in head first to a new life where I'd become this woman who dares to dream bigger than ever and pursue every ambition. And no, it hasn't been this perfect journey since. It's been kind of lonely at times, and there has been plenty of setbacks and difficult times that have come about just like for anyone they would. But it's been so rewarding to my soul to push myself to achieve wonderful things and continue to give myself that chance to reach for more. And I tell this story to allude to the irony of the comfort zone and how it's kind of funny. We will most likely not be willing to step out of it until we get extremely uncomfortable within it. Like the shoreline, again, it's sometimes not enough. And sometimes maybe it is for a little while, and that's okay too. Either way is okay. Everyone's at a different place in their life, but that discomfort that may emerge is essentially the voice of our inner guidance assuring us that we were meant for more because we're capable of more. So listen to that voice. Don't ignore it. I've realized that it may not be until we recognize the pain of living in a place of dormancy and are bored with that repetitious pattern of our life that we will consider making adjustments that truly ignite the spark within us and make us happy. And just keep in mind, the deep end of life is where you actually discover your true potential and the strength that you have and the true beauty of existence. If you never take the risk, you will surely never reap the reward, and you'll surely never grow. No matter if you sink or swim, so to say, you can still resurface with an acquired sense of appreciation and a deeper understanding of yourself following those quests through the trials and tribulations. So if you can, even though I know that these things are easier said than done, do your best to embrace failures and any mishaps that may arise, learn from them, and try to realize that the willingness to try, to take chances, and to experience life to its fullest is worth it, regardless of the outcome. Because isn't that what life's all about? Living your best life, or just living the best that you can, trying your best. And it honestly really doesn't have to be a dramatic move across the country or anything of that caliber. Leaving your comfort zone can be achieved in small ways too that are just as significant. See, most people just stick to their usual method of doing things their whole life. But I promise you, if you aim small and start pushing past your boundaries by doing just everyday tasks differently, it can and you can go a long way. See, instead of picking up your phone first thing when you wake up, try grabbing a book or going for a walk. Or if you really want to be dicey, replace that cup of coffee in the morning for some tea or something like that, a smoothie. And that's actually what I mean when I say things are easier said than done, because that one would be a hard one for me. But just consciously take actions that strive for improvement and find alternatives to what you're used to. And I know the changes may seem insignificant in the beginning, but they will eventually break you out of those same old routines. Remember, every step counts, and maybe small ones will lead you to want to take even bigger ones one day. And keep in mind, a new refined version of ourselves is required to make changes in order to fuel those fires inside. Ones that work through fear and believe in our power enough to set ablaze and burn brightly in a world that does everything to actually dim our light. We have to be open to redesigning ourselves constantly as we grasp the importance of self-development. It's brave to grow when the world seems to want you to just conform. Go against the tide and dare to dream big. And as you explore outside of your comfort zone, you'll discover a new world of growth and learning and unforgettable experiences waiting to unfold. Just expand your horizons. It's all about taking opportunities with courage and conviction. If you stay stagnant and never make a move, you would not be giving yourself a fair shot at finding out what awaits on the other side. And it could be worthwhile. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and giving it a listen. I hope that you can take something from it. If you'd like to support this podcast, please leave a review and a rating, and it would be greatly appreciated. And if you'd like, share it with some people that you know, and stay connected with me on thejourneywetake.com. You can also find links to all the social media accounts there. And I'll catch you guys all on the next one. Until then, make every step count.